What's going on, all you people on Facebook and YouTube Live? First and foremost, welcome to this episode of On Another Line Live here on January the 4th, 2022. Coming at you hot. I took a week off or 2 weeks off here because of the holiday season. Got the opportunity to do some fishing here in Ohio. We're going to talk about that in just a second. We have plans to have Kevin the Baitman Baxter on tonight. He's having some trouble with his wife's car and may or may not be available. So we'll just have to, kind of play that by ear. But we're going to talk about some of my favorite winter baits, and I'm going to get your guys' opinion about what you think that I should throw at Lake Fork coming up here soon. So I hope it's not my next tournament or next fishing trip, but I think it's going to be. If you guys let me know, hey, Chuck, what's up, buddy? I saw that you had some procedures done today, man. I hope everything went all right with you there. It looks like it because you're still here messages, which is good stuff. Also want to apologize. This light that you see flashing back here, I've been trying to figure out what that is. That's actually I have a 50-inch TV right here that I use for a secondary monitor. And it actually causes, you can see the thing moving around. It actually causes my camera picks up the refresh rate of it, which kind of sucks. But anyway, without further ado, guys, thanks again for joining this episode of On Another Line Live. This episode brought to you by the one and only Lure Lock. If you guys are looking for a new storage system for your boat or bank fishing or what have you, Lure Lock has you covered. You can check them out at lurellock.com. And I do have a promo code. Not sure what it is. Shoot me a message. I can get it to you. I think it's Waller20. Actually, I think it's OnAnotherLine. I think is what it is. I will verify that if you guys want the opportunity to save some dough there. But again, this episode brought to you by Lure Lock. Appreciate the people at Lure Lock hooking me up year after year after year. Also, quick shout out to the people at Yolatech. If you guys have created videos this year with any kind of Lure Lock product, Yolatech product, such as this right here. This is a Power Stick 53-inch. I have two of them laying here on my desk. I run two of them every time I go out, plus the new mount that they have out, which is if I can get it out here without destroying things, the juice box here powers my GoPro all day on my chesty mount. I used this the other day all day. Still has 2 batteries left. But the reason I say that is not a plug for Yolatech. If you guys don't have used Yolatech or don't use it, I do have a promo code that will save you some cash on that, a decent amount. But if you have used it, I do want to get the word out that they're having a video of the year contest, and you can submit videos all the way up until the 16th of this month. And there's 2 different categories that you can enter. One of them is edited, meaning that if you think you're the next Steven Spielberg, as they put it, the Spielberg, or you like editing like I do, you could create an edited video. You can also just turn in a raw clip. If you think you've got a really cool clip that's not edited from your Yolatech gear, you could submit it for a chance to win a ton of cash prizes, Yolatech bucks. And if you have what they call as a Yolatech photo bomb, it's just showing one of their products, like this Yolatech Power Stick 53 in the video, you have a opportunity to win an extra $250 in cash, from what I understand. Last year, I entered, and I ended up finishing second in the edited category. That's how I ended up with this second Yolatech Power Stick 53-inch. But it is good through the 16th. If you guys want to get out there and, if you use Yolatech gear, now's your opportunity to potentially win some of the money back. I did submit both edited and raw videos this year. We'll have to see what happens there. They did change the voting of it a little bit. They're going to narrow it down to 6 of the raw and 6 of the edited category, and you're going to have the ability to your fans vote on that, and that's one portion of the voting. They get 3 votes. The fan vote counts as 1. So they're kind of like holding the trump card there because they don't want it to turn into a popularity contest. They want everybody to be able to win. Doesn't matter how big your following is. So if you guys are interested in that, go check it out. Mark Hickey, what's up, brother? Glad you're on here. Speaking of which, knock this out really quickly. If you guys are interested, I don't know if you guys saw it the other day on my channel, and you're going to be seeing it on a video. Actually, you saw it on a video when Misty and I went to Grayson and blanked on YouTube. But Mark and his wife, they're creating this apparel brand called Apex Fishing Apparel. You can check it out at apexfishingapparel.com. And I was lucky enough to get a promo code for you guys to save you guys 10%. Use Waller10 at apexfishing.com. And apexfishing.com, apexfishingapparel.com, sorry. A lot of stuff on there. There's a lot of stuff hitting the deck new. So let's see if we hop over here to the to their actual page here. Look at that stud. Look at him right there. Stud all day long. Stud. We got a lot of stuff for men and women. They just dropped these things here the other day. They did just drop some stuff for the youth and toddler sizes of things. This is their little boy Triton. Decently priced stuff. I can tell you that I have two of the shirts, and they are very, very comfortable. And they're sun shirts. Sun's really not a big deal right now, but I did get out on the water the other day and wear them, and it's pretty amazing stuff. So you want to get your hands on that, apexfishingapparel.com. Use Waller10 for promo. Save yourself 10% off. What's up, Andrew? Saw that fish you posted on the page here a little while ago. We're going to knock that out and talk about some of the fish that were dropped in on the On Another Line Facebook page. Fred Redfern, what's up, buddy? Hope you had a great Christmas and a happy New Year, as well as everybody out there. Just to knock this out, first and foremost, wherever you're watching this at, YouTube, Facebook, I appreciate you guys sticking around for this episode of On Another Line Live. We're going to be talking about fishing. And again, Kevin Baxter, the bait man, was supposed to join in, and he potentially could be here. He's working on his wife's car. So if you guys are joining in to see Kevin, he may or may not be here, which is okay. It's totally fine. Stuff happens. But I want to let you know that may or may not come into fruition. But this past weekend, on New Year's Eve, myself and Brandon Buckner got out and done some fishing on Yatesville Lake. And I really don't know in my entirety of my 37 years here that I've been on this earth that I've ever been fishing on New Year's Eve. In Ohio here, it's usually blistering cold, super cold, and normally I don't get the opportunity to get out in the water. However, this weekend we did get an opportunity to go out and fish a little open. The guy that runs Jack's Custom Baits out there, he actually put on a little open. We just showed up and threw our money in the hat. Turned out to be a lot bigger open than I thought. It's just this a little small little deal, spur of the moment thing. But there's about 30 boats that showed up because the weather was like 70 degrees. It was about 60 when we took off, and it gradually got lower in temperature, which I think hurt us. But we ended up finding some fish. We didn't catch a single keeper. We got 13 fish total. And according to everybody that we talked to, there was 30 boats roughly, and there was only 3 fish weighed in total, which Yatesville fish is tough anyway. And the wintertime, guys, my biggest thing in wintertime when it comes to talking about fishing wintertime pattern is that I think that I absolutely fish too slow, if that's possible. And I get it. Fishing slow is something that, is needed in a lot of time. I don't know if you guys caught the article that was on Bassmaster that Chris Zaldane wrote there a couple of days ago, and he talked about the things that he keys on in the wintertime. And that one of those was hard bottoms, and I agree with that. I like rocky banks. I like stuff that has boulders. I'm going to stay away from sandy stuff, muddy banks. They're not going to stick around. That stuff holds temperature longer, holds heat longer from the sun, and I think that's why they stay there. Also, in those rocks and things, you're going to have a better chance to get a crawfish or a crayfish moving around in there. And another point that he pointed out that I thought was interesting, and I guess I do it, but just kind of out of, not out of habit, I guess, because I don't like going out when it's uber cold. But he talks about fishing in the mid of the day, noon to 3 o'clock, noon to 4 o'clock before it gets dark. The water's going to ramp up, and it's going to be the warmest it's going to be all day in that area right there. As fishermen, we want to go out as soon as the day breaks and just start crushing on them. In the wintertime, it's not the greatest idea. But another thing that I thought he, was very interesting, and I've never really thought about it, is that he says that, fish are fat in the winter for a reason. It's not because they don't eat, right? They eat. You just have to be where they're eating, and you also have to be presenting what they're eating. You're not going to be able to move a bait too fast for a fish that wants to eat it. It's all about getting the fish to trigger to eat, or presenting it to something that it thinks it's going to eat, that it wants to eat, which, is a lot different than what I normally do. So I'm normally throwing a big 3/4 ounce jig, black and blue, with some kind of trailer, whether that be a net bait or whether that's a chunk crawl split in two or whatever. It's all there. There's a lot of stuff that goes on there. But I find myself fishing really, really, really slow. Well, sometimes that works out. But I will tell you, the water temperature was 47 degrees at Yatesville the other day, and we hammered on their heads with some crankbaits in the morning. We caught probably 6 or 7 in the morning. Again, these are all dinks, so we didn't catch a single keeper. But we caught 13 fish all day. Most of them came on a crankbait. I'll show you guys what we caught them on in a second. And the other part of it came on one of the new weedless finesse heads that Do It Mold just come out with, and it's a weedless Ned rig or Ned head. They partnered with a company called Victory Hooks, which I was skeptical of. I'm a huge Mustad and Gamakatsu guy, but I like these Victory hooks. They're super sharp. They're uber sharp, man. They're super sharp. They are a little more wire filling. They do have a little bit more give and bend to them, but we're talking about a finesse hook here. You're not going to be like pitching this thing up in a brush pile usually. But we did catch 5 or 6 fish on that. Just the way it happened. I only had one Ned rig worm on my boat. I ended up borrowing some off Brandon Buckner. We'll get into that in just a second. Yeah, Fred, I think hard bottoms and cold water, it brings a lot of the fish there. Again, it holds warmer. The water's going to remain warmer there because it's going to soak up the heat. Those rocks and things are going to hold the heat longer. It's just like, walking up to a building. I know you guys have all done this if it's summertime, and it'd be like 8 o'clock at night, and you walk past the building, and you can feel that heat radiating off of that building, off the bricks and things where it's been in the sun all day. It's the exact same principle. Grease Monkey Bass Fishing in the house. What's up, Dewey? What's up, buddy? What's happening, man? I saw those fish you posted there. We're going to get into those in just a second on fishing on the YouTube or Facebook account, which, by the way, is something I wanted to talk to you guys about. If you guys just follow me on YouTube, head on over to Facebook and check out OnAnotherLine there. I do run some contests and things on there. I wish there was a better way to do it on YouTube, because I'd like to transfer all of my people to YouTube and get away from Facebook. I just don't like the way that things are shaping up with the whole metaverse and all that other stuff, and potentially I'm going to transition all the way over to YouTube, but it just depends on who's going to be there. I have more followers on YouTube than I do Facebook, but I don't want to discriminate. But if you are on YouTube only, you can go check out Facebook for a while. You can find me there. And if you are out there on Facebook land and you want to find me in a place where I post more content than anything, it's going to be on YouTube. That's youtube.com/OnAnotherLine. I have a really big campaign boosting up right now, ramping up right now, trying to figure out how I'm going to reach 4,000 subscribers by the end of this fishing season. I'm hoping to do that way before the end of this fishing season. I have a lot of things in mind. I am potentially going to partner up with Shimano and G Loomis and give away an NRX Plus rod. And that is a big time deal. That's a $650 rod. So we're going to be working on that, hoping to get that out there to break that 4,000 subscriber mark. We are going to be partnering with some big deal stuff. How's the ice fishing out there, man? I saw you guys are getting out there on the ice. We don't have ice here in Ohio. I'm kind of bummed about it, but not so much in the same time, because I don't know, man. Like, I think that it's almost like having to have another bass boat. You got to have an ice shack usually, and it's crazy. Like, I dig all the stuff of your ice fishing electronics that I see on there, which is crazy. It's amazing stuff. I hated that Corey the other day dropped his sounder in the water when he flipped his kayak. That sucks. Slow. Haven't been out much. That's not good at all. So back to the tournament there just a second ago, guys. I told you guys we found some fish on a crankbait. I am going to show you that really quickly. We caught them on a Fritz Side 5 made by Berkeley. And in this color here, which is known as a special red crawl, which special red crawl is a huge collar for any time of the year, but mainly in the spring for me. I throw a lot of big red baits and stuff like a KVD 2.5, 1.5, the lipless crankbaits such as a red-eye shad or rattle trap, something of that nature. So I picked up this bait at the tackle box the other day. Another thing that I think you should key on in wintertime, especially when you're bass fishing, is that you're going to want something that has a tighter wobble on it. So this, you can't really see it here. I guess I can, hopefully I can, I cannot. I was going to, usually you can go into 3D here, but I cannot. But this is a flat side crankbait, so it causes the bait to wobble a lot more side to side, like a flicker minnow or something, as opposed to having a big wobble to it. I think that does a lot to the triggering fish in the wintertime, having that really tight wobble. KVD or the Strike King made one. It was a flat side crankbait for a while. I liked it pretty well. They had one in the 1.5 deep. And guys, I'm just going to say it. I think the 1.5 deep was a flop. I don't know what it is. I've never picked up a Strike King crankbait that I've hated more than the 1.5 deep. I just don't think it runs like it should. I don't think it runs much deeper than a 1.5, and the action, in my opinion, maybe it's the 10 I have, just terrible, man. They don't run straight. Maybe that's just pre-production stuff, and I got some of the early ones, but I have like 10 or 12 of them, and I started throwing them, and I just wasn't a huge fan of the 1.5 deeps. But this Fritz Side 5 right here in the red special crawl, I picked up 2 of them at the tackle box the other day, and these things do have rattles in them. The rattles are a little louder than most, which may have something to do with it. But picked these things up. I threw it probably 10 minutes in the morning, caught one fish, threw it another 5-6 minutes, caught another fish, dug in my box and gave Brandon the other one that I had. He tied it on, and we worked this same bank. It was literally about 200-yard stretch of bank. We fished the exact same bank for 6 hours of this tournament. And when I say that is brutal for me, I am telling you, it is absolutely brutal for me to do that. I have a hard time doing that. However, in the wintertime, especially if you find fish, do not leave fish because they're there for a reason. That's one of the biggest things I have to tell myself is why are these fish here? Sure, they're only this big, or they're only 12 inches long, 13 inches long. You can bet the keepers are around there too. Something's holding them there. And it was weird because the reason we found it on this bank and we found these fish on this bank, as best I could tell, is that my boat literally was about 40 feet off the bank and we were in 35 foot of water. It was just a sheer rock face pretty much coming off of the bank. So you guys heard me talk about it in the spring and fall and wintertime and stuff. When a fish becomes, especially pre-spawn, guys, if you can find a really steep bank heading into a flat in pre-spawn, I guarantee you're going to find some bass in there because, again, they use their swim bladder they want to go vertical up and down to find fish. They don't want to meander around everywhere. They just want to be able to inflate or deflate their swim bladder to eat. They don't want to have to go very much, a whole long ways because they don't want to expend a bunch of energy, in my opinion. I've never asked a bass, but I would say this is why it happens. So they could ambush shad and stuff that's swimming along that rock wall. If you guys have ever been to a lock and dam system, such as the Greenup Dam down here in southern Ohio, where I'm from, go to any river system that has a rock or has a concrete wall before it gets to the dam on the other side, like the downriver stream. In the summertime, watch the edge of that rock wall. Just sit there and watch it for 10, 15 minutes. I guarantee you're going to see giant balls of shad that are like sideways on that rock and swimming right along it. Well, I'm sure that happens on those rock faces too. So instead of having to move left or right or swim a bunch of ways, they can just move up and down that rock wall to eat and feed themselves, which is going to be what they're going to want to do. The thing about that is that I don't know why they were there the other day, but the same pattern was striking up that exact same way. We found a bank that was really steep. It wasn't like a bluff. It was a really steep, rocky bank that come off and was a really steep decline to the bottom. And the boat was in 35 foot of water. We were in flooded timber, but the fish weren't around the timber. They were hugged really close to the bank. Water temperature is 47 degrees. It was fairly clear, probably, 5 foot of visibility for fall or for wintertime. I'll take that any day of the week. But they had, we had about 5 foot of visibility. the only place that I could catch these fish was right on the bank. If I casted at the bank, I was casting into like, an inch of water and coming off of there with this Fritz Side 5. And it seemed like within the first 3 feet to 5 feet away from the bank, if I didn't get bit, I wasn't going to get bit all the way back to the boat. So I used that as a way to try to figure out where these fish were patterning. Well, we did that pattern for about 2 hours in the morning and caught several fish. And then all of a sudden, it just went totally flat, and we never could get bit on anything. I threw different style crankbaits. I threw liplets. I threw, deeper diving crankbaits. I threw a lot of different stuff. I threw a jerk bait. I threw a re-range 110, which is one of my absolute go-to. When the water temperature hits about 50 degrees, all the way until the water starts warming up to about 50 degrees in the springtime, I consistently have a jerk bait of some sort in my hands because I feel like they just catch that many fish. The key is fishing it correctly. I'm still learning, by the way. I'm not a professional by any means, but I think that the key is letting that jerk bait soak a lot when, before you start working, especially when the water temperature gets below 40 or 50 degrees or so. But we threw re-range 110. Brandon threw an A-rig. We threw a bunch of different stuff. And for about an hour, we couldn't get bit. Couldn't figure out why. So we fished all the way back in this creek, not as far as we could go, but we fished back into where it got really shallow. It was like 2 to 3 foot of water. And I didn't feel like they were going to be stacked up in that shallow of water because there was no hard bottom. It was muddy. It was sandy. So we just ripped it around and went right back to the same bank that we were fishing and fished right back down that bank. Well, we fished down the bank and never got bit. So, and this is where we're switching up baits and trying to figure out things, what's going on. And then it just hit me. I was like, man, maybe these fish have moved off of this bank and are deeper now. Well, I had a big 3/4 ounce jig tied on. I usually have one laying here, but I don't. It's just a big 3/4 ounce jig that I pour they have wire weed guards on them instead of the fiber weed guard. But I fired that thing up in this timber off. I fished it from 1 inch of water all the way down into 35 foot of water, and I could not get bit on this thing. And the fish we've been catching were not huge, right? They weren't even keepers. They were anywhere from 8 to 12, 13 inch of fish, which by me, I don't care. I catch them, whatever. It's all good. But so I was like, well, maybe I need to go into finesse. Well, so the thing about it is, like, this time of year, you guys are normally used to seeing videos from my channel of me cleaning my gear, which is going to start here very soon. So if you guys are interested in that, definitely go over and subscribe on YouTube. But this time of the year, I always pack all my gear out of my boat and put it here in my basement, and I work on them one by one, cleaning every rod and every reel and getting them new line, making sure they're greased and make sure they have, lubrication and all that stuff, getting ready for the 2022 fishing season. Well, I had all of my rods in here ready to do that. And then last week here in Ohio, it started getting crazy warm. It was like 70 degrees most of the days, and that's just unheard of for this time of year. So I packed a limited number of rods, and that's when Misty and I went to Grayson and never caught a fish. But I took 4 rods, Misty took 3 rods, and we went fishing. The other day, when I went fishing with Brandon in that tournament, I packed 1 more rod, and that was another crankbait rod that I had laying here, and I didn't take any spinning rods. So I started thinking, maybe they're kind of finicky. Maybe they want to go into this pattern where they want to eat a finesse bait. So I opened the rod locker, and the first rod I see is Misty's Zodius that I bought her last year for Christmas with the Stratic, the FL on it. And it just so happened had a pink wire or weedless Ned rig on it that I poured up, and I had her fishing at Grayson. She never got a bite on it the other day. Just the way it goes. So I was like, instead of changing this thing, this is the only rod I got in my boat. This is a spinning rod. I don't have any of mine in there. So she actually throws and reels with her right hand. I'm opposite. I reel with my left hand with a spinning rod, which is weird because I reel with my right hand on a bait caster. Don't ask me why. It's just the way I've done it for years and years and years. But the thing of it was, I reached down, grabbed a rod, changed the rod over, the handle over, and I was on the video. I told you guys not to tell Misty because I grabbed her rod and started fishing. But the very first cast, fired out and caught a bass, and we caught 6 or 7 more on Ned rigs. I ended up losing the pink one that I was fishing with and borrowed one off of Brandon's, just a Ned crawl. We caught the rest of our fish that day on those Ned crawls, but we didn't catch a single keeper. Oh no, Misty's here. I guess she didn't watch my video the other day, did you guys? Hmm. Fred, excuse me. Fred, how often do you change your braided line? So I have a video coming out about this, but I'll go ahead and talk to you about it right now since we're live and in person. Fred, that is an absolute amazing question. I'm glad you asked it. I personally don't change my braided line that often. I'm using leader with my braided line 90% of the time, unless I'm throwing like a frog or something on top water, which very hardly ever. If I'm throwing top water braid or you throwing braid for top water, there is very rarely that I'll ever change it because it's not getting frayed up. It's pretty tough to destroy the spectra fiber, especially if you're using Power Pro. But most braids are the same. So you have that, and you're working on top water and stuff. If you're going to be throwing up into big brush piles with a big jig or something, I would definitely recommend changing it. Maybe every 2 years, probably. That's probably as long as I would go with it. But here's a little trick that I was taught by Drew Sadler from Shimano a few years ago. And I don't have no clue why I've never thought of this or why I've never done it before, but I do it to all my rods now. What I do is like if I have two spinning rods and one of them and they both have 15-pound Power Pro on them. What I'll do is I will take the braid off of one and just put it on a spool for right now, because you have to have the best thing is to have a reel that doesn't have any braid on it. So you have backer on it. You always want to put backer when you're using braid. I don't care what kind of reel you're using. Use some cheap monofilament, something that you're not going to care about. Put you know 30 to 50 wraps on that thing. You don't want to take a ton of space on your reel, but put some backer on there, and then take the reel that doesn't have any braid on it and literally tie the line from one reel through the rod, through the other rod, down onto the new reel and reel it back onto your reel. So what you're doing is you're basically taking the old line that you've used, because I don't care how far you cast. The only way you're going to let out all the lines is if you cast, you're like Lake Erie or St. Clair, and you just let the boat drift and you just keep on going, keep on going, keep on going. If you're bass fishing like we do most of the time, you're only going to use about the first 1/3 of that spool, and the rest of it is just wasted. However, if you reel it back on from the side that you use back on another reel, you actually are doubling your lifetime use out of that same line. At that case, you could potentially get 4 years out of one spool of braid, depending on how hard you use it. Me personally, I change mine every year because I tournament fish a lot, and I do have a partnership with Power Pro. If I were buying it, I buy it by bulk. I buy 1,500-yard spools, so it's easy for me to justify that cost and that purchase. If you're just bass fishing and you're out fun fishing, I think you can get 2 years out of it at least. Just be mindful that, like, again, at least swap it over and put it on a new reel and use the back half of it for a year or so and see what happens. Matter of fact, I don't know that I've ever found a spool of Power Pro that, no matter how old it is, that you can just reach and grab it and break it. But one thing that I will tell you is that sun makes a difference on all fishing lines. I make a habit of myself, if I'm not using the rod, if I throw it in the morning and I'm not getting bit on it, I'm not going to use it anymore, I will put that rod in my rod locker so the UV rays doesn't beat down on that line all the time. It just changes the molecular structure of that line. The sun beating down on it bakes it. Next thing you know, you go to cast and it looks like a slinky going out through there, which is not what you want. So if you're not using it, put it in your deck of your boat. But again, I figure 2 years is good, but make sure you reel it off one into the other. To make a difference if on a bait casting reel or spinning reel? I don't think it does. You're gonna probably hold less line depending on probably the bait caster. But no, I would not feel I wouldn't feel bad about coming off of a bait caster onto a spinning reel. Not at all. I mean, it's the same line and you're using the good side of it. So as long as you make that tight, that line, make sure you put backer on it. That's a given. If you don't put a backer on there, what's going to happen is that there's no way it doesn't cinch down on itself very well. So what happens is, as you use it and you cast and reel, you have the line spool, instead of being all nice and intertwined, it starts bird's nesting out. And what that's going to do is it's going to cause the spool of line to start spinning around the spool of either your bait caster or your spinning rod, and it's going to cause slippage, and it's going to feel like your reel is broken. So put backer on. I use Unity knots. I feel like they work really well. I think they hold better. There's an FG knot. There's 100 different knots you can tie. But backer to braid, and then the braid to a leader is what I always use unless I'm throwing it for a flipping and pitching or a topwater bait. But you know, I don't think it matters if you go from bait caster to spinning rod at all. As long, you know, it's the same line. I don't run as high pound test wise as far on my spinning rods or on my bait caster. No, on my spinning rods I do bait caster. I used to run a 30-pound test Power Pro, which is like the equivalent, I think, of 8-pound test. Mono. Then I started fishing Lake St. Clair and Erie and stuff, and I was doing these long line techniques. So I dropped that down to 15-pound test so I can add double the amount of line onto my reel. It all depends. You know, if you like some of my bait casters that I run braid on have 65-pound tests on them. Like my topwater rod. My topwater has regular Power Pro 65-pound test. Well, you know, you got to be thinking, why 65-pound test on a braided or on a rod anytime? Well, unless you're flipping and pitching, I get it. But I feel like that bigger diameter actually holds more surface tension on the water, causing my topwater baits to have more action. If you throw a topwater bait, you're going to want to throw it on mono or braid. You don't want to throw it on fluorocarbon. Fluorocarbon, as we know, sinks. So when you actually are twitching your popper or your walking bait or whatever, that fluorocarbon is going to want to sink and create this big bow in the line, and it's going to cause your baits to like dip into the water and not work as they should. I throw 65-pound test on my topwater rod just for the simple fact is I throw regular Power Pro just because I got a ton of it. Super Slick would be what I would use now, but you know, it's totally up to you. Just make sure the pound test is what you want, and I don't think you have a problem. What's up, Aaron Strickland? What's up, buddy? Glad to see you, man. Hope you got out. It looks like you got out in the water the other day. I saw those studs you had posted on there. Pretty good fish. Nice catch. You're welcome, Fred. Glad I can help you out. Earlier today, I asked you guys to drop some photos on the YouTube page, and I would throw those up on the page here, or on the live stream. Guys, if you don't go out and follow Grease Monkey Bass Fishing on YouTube and Facebook, you're doing it all wrong. My boy Dewey over here has got some good things going on, catching some hammers, and digging the Shimano flat bill. Love that thing. Amazing stuff there. That was one of the photos that was sent in there. Let's see what else we have here. There he is. Another hammer. Digging it. See that GoPro back there? Again, if you guys are interested in checking out some other content on YouTube and Facebook, go check out Grease Monkey Bass Fishing on YouTube and Facebook. Get the old Riot hat on there. Nice fish. Probably a solid 5-pounder, maybe 6. Hard to tell. Nice fish. Corey Weaver with an absolute hammer. 613 and big bass as a co-angler for the BASS Open on Pickwick, which is amazing. If you guys don't know, Corey Weaver is one of the owners of JB's Fish Sauce now, and he is an absolute hammer. He goes out and fishes. Him and his boy just took a trip down through the South and caught a bunch of crappie with some of the crappie guides that are sponsored through JB's Fish Sauce. Had an absolute awesome time. Been digging, trying to find that. I've been living vicariously through his trip. Mark Shannon with the 3-pounder. Nice fish, man. Look at that bank back there. I don't know where that is right there, bud, but I'm telling you what, that bank back there in the background looks like it'd be stellar. The water comes back up. Mark Shannon with the 3-pounder. Stephen Green with a little slinky fish. Got a little musky there. This was caught, if I'm not mistaken, Stephen, if you're on here, I don't know if you are or not, but I'm pretty sure it was caught in West Virginia. I know it was West Virginia. I'll have to come up with a name in just a second. Same Same crew. This is my buddy Casey. He was fishing with Stephen Green. And this is another muskie that was caught. And this same trip, I'm pretty sure Casey caught a hammer, probably a 6-pound smallmouth or largemouth. And this is at Stonewall Jackson. It just hit me. Stonewall Jackson, both of those came out of Andrew Six, the man, the myth, the legend, with an absolute hammer of a fish. That's a heck of a fish, buddy. Got the old egg beater back there. I bet that was fun on that old fairy wand back there. It's always fun catching an amazing fish like that on a spinning rod. It's one of my favorite times ever. Some big fish coming in here. I believe that's everybody. Pretty cool stuff. Nolan Lake. Where's that at, Mark? Water temp 53, 54 degrees. That's pretty cool. Corey Weaver. What's up, buddy? Guys, what we're going to do here in the next couple of days, we're going to do some giveaways. I have some JB's Fish Sauce here, by the way. If you guys are not familiar with JB's Fish Sauce, it is an absolute game changer in my opinion. It is made from real crude fish oils, and it does have fish attractant capabilities as well. Almost like creating a chum slick in the water without your, it's baiting fish without baiting fish. In my opinion, this thing is a new product that's out for JB's Fish Sauce over the 2021 fishing season that I partner. I've been a fan of JB's Fish Sauce for a long time. I've been using their product for years and years. Jim Block, the guy who was the founder of the company, and I become really close friends. And I used the product because I liked it. The garlic was my absolute favorite. I also liked the crawfish scent. There was several other I used. I used the 4-ounce mist sprays. I used a ton of it. Matter of fact, you can find both of those in my boat right now. I guarantee it. There's a ton of it. When Corey and everybody took over the brand from James Block, I talked to Corey about partnering up and adding an OnAnotherLine special blend of JB's Fish Sauce. And luckily they were willing to help me out and do that. And that is, again, it's going to be tough for you guys to see, but that's JB's Fish Sauce Pinch O Garlic. It is a proprietary blend of crawfish and garlic. And here's the thing. People are skeptical about scents. First thing I'm going to tell you is this has real crude fish oil in it, and it will not hinder your bite at all. I feel like that if nothing else, this makes your bait smell like something natural. I can almost guarantee you guys, I tell this story often, and I don't know if this is true or not, because it was one of those things where it just kind of, was there and it happened. But Kyle and I were fishing a tournament with Lawrence County Bass Club about 5-6 years ago. And the day before this tournament, I'd went out in my garden and I'd picked a couple bushels of super hot peppers, habaneros, jalapenos, you name it. I had it. And I canned a bunch of them that day. The tournament was on Sunday. Saturday, we fished through. I could tell you that Kyle absolutely beat the brakes off of me when it comes to catching fish that day. And I have to think that it was because of the capsaicin on my hands from those peppers. Because I literally used the same exact baits down to the exact same rod and reel and line combination, throwing at the exact same places that he was catching fish, and I couldn't get bit. So, if nothing else, this is going to get rid of my human scent off my baits, and I think that's a big game changer. But if you guys are interested in this stuff, you guys are probably tired of me talking about JB's Fish Sauce because I'm that much of a believer in it. But if you want to get your hands on some of it, jbsfishsauce.com. If you use the promo code of, I'll throw it up here on the screen, OALL, that is the letter OALL 20. That is OnAnotherLine Live 20 will save you 20% off of everything at jbsfishsauce.com. Back to the comments. Litchfield, Kentucky. All right, cool. Hey, Steven, you are on here. What's up, buddy? Stonewall Jackson, April of 2021. Awesome fish. I caught my very first and only tiger muskie this year at Lake St. Clair. It was an amazing deal. Again, if you guys use Yolotech products and just now joining in, again, I don't want you to think that I'm plugging this stuff because I'm getting paid for it, but I just want you guys to be aware that Yolotech, if you use stuff like this, the Yolotech Power Stick 53, the Power Stick 20, the their juice box, a lot of anything. If you created videos this year and you would like to have an opportunity to win some of your money back or win new products, they have a video of the year contest going on in just a second. I'm going to show you mine here in just a second. It's going to be, I'm going to show you what I entered as the epic one, or I'm sorry, as the edited version. Again, you're going to see it here first, but you're going to, hopefully, I may not even get into the top 6 this year, but if I do, I'm going to need your guys' help to boost that baby up. So I'm going to show you guys really quickly this video that I'm adding to the mix here.
This is a tribute meant for the self-sponsored, plagued by a burning desire, chasing a dream, trading home-cooked meals for peanut butter sandwiches and ceiling fans for camper shells. Broke, exhausted, determined. It's a tribute to the fisherman on the run. 2 hands torn and weary eyes, skin like leather from the sun. Worry that smiles can't disguise for that fisherman on the run. No bluffing here, the soul is seen. Fisherman's lie won't get you far. The opponent's eyes are too keen as they zero in on a familiar scar. Tough fishing is a common foe amongst all from time to time, deciding whether to stay or go, earn a paycheck or not a dime. While running, his head is reeling, risk it all on a hunch at best. It's a gamble on a gut feeling, putting that instinct to the test. Motor muffles a million voices, all screaming inside his head. Too much riding on his choices, should have a 9 to 5 instead. Then he could be home at night, helping her tuck in the little one. Worrying now wouldn't be right, there's a job that must be done. With rod in hand he makes a cast, something just doesn't feel right. There's no way it's a fish that fast, then thump, the line goes tight. Swift hook set does soon reveal there's a monster at the end. The line is screaming from his reel as the fish's wheelie tries to bend. Struggle seems to go on for days, giving it all he's got to get her in. Already guessing what she weighs, his biggest since who knows when. Eye to eye, 2 warriors meet as he fights to bring her aboard. The might picks up each heartbeat while he reaches for his reward. Just like that, she's in the boat, a slimy green symbol of success. But still there's no time to gloat, he must hurry to catch the rest. In 20 minutes, his well is full, how quickly things can change. The storm of worries hits a lull, and his torn emotions rearrange. Loaded down, he walks the pier, bulging bag causes him to lean. Thinking this might be his year, a tingle runs through his spleen. Deep breath, he takes the stage, the scales will reveal the weight. It's gravity's pull they gauge, but they'll also measure his fate. Numbers flash, the crowd erupts, he has finally reached the top. The check, the trophy, and close-ups. But for a moment, he has to stop. Through tear-filled eyes, he sees that a line has begun to form. A weak feeling hits his knees, knowing this is out of the norm. There's still a prize he must collect from each veteran and young gun. Their handshakes and due respect all await that fisherman on the run.
So there it was. You guys saw it here first on Another Line Live. That's going to be, actually has already been submitted for the Yolotech Video of the Year contest. So if I make it into the top 6 with that, first and foremost, the poem that I'm reading in this video is by a buddy of mine, Shay Baker, who was a photographer for BASS for a long time, now does a huge deal with Christianity and faith and fishing, and he's huge in the industry. He knows everybody, man. He is an absolute hammer on the water, and he's an absolute better guy to be around. But if you guys want to go out and follow him, it's just at Shay, SHAYE, Baker, BAKER, on Instagram. But amazing guy. The guy is phenomenally talented. But he showed me that poem about, I guess, 3-4 years ago. I was at a retreat with Angler, the app Angler, and I was a small fish in a big pond at that point. I had Gene Jensen, Fluke Master there. We had Tyler's Real Fishing was there. Shay Baker was there. There was so many hammers there that were in this, the world of bass fishing and content creation, that, and Shay was like, we were sitting there, having a cold adult beverage. He wasn't, but I was. And we were talking about it, and I played my song "My World" for the whole thing. And if you guys follow Fluke Master, you guys probably saw that video when I was on there as well. So that all happened at the same time. But he was saying, man, he's like, that's really cool. He said, I wrote, I write too. I haven't done it since I was in college, but check out this poem that I've written. So I was looking at it and I was like, dude, this is awesome. I was like, this is amazing. He's like, yeah. He's like, I'd like to get something done with it eventually. He said, but I just don't know what to do. So that winter, well, it was wintertime when I was there. I left Pittsburgh that day. And then the following week, I just sat down and done a voiceover of it. And I sent it to him. I was like, here, man, this may not be up your alley. This may not be what you wanted, but this is what I come up with. I just used his words, voiceovered it, and sent him the actual video or the audio. He created a video, put it on his YouTube channel. It went, I don't know, went cardboard. It was decently viral, but so I wanted to use something on my video. And again, the Yolatech Video of the Year contest means that you have to have shot it with something to do with Yolatech products, which I use all the time anyway, guys. It's how I create my videos. But it has to be shot in the 2021 fishing season or the year of 2021, which all that video that you saw there was. And it has to, it has to be picked by them and to be in the top 6. If that becomes one of the top 6, you guys out there will go out and like it on their page if you would. And if that happens, then they will pick the winner from those top 6 and we'll see what happens. So I'm hopeful that happens again. Last year I did the exact same thing. I submitted a video from last year's stuff and ended up coming in second place, which I was happy of. It was a cool deal. It was a cool experience. But I do want to let you know that if you do use Yolatech products, they do have a Video of the Year contest going on right now through the 16th of this month. You could submit. If you go to their website, there's a link there. You can go to Facebook, YouTube, whatever you have. There's a link there. It'll take you to a drop box that you can drop these things in there and have a chance to win. So hopefully, luckily, if you see, if things work out how I think they're going to, I don't know, maybe not. There may be some hammers in the video world out there that may blow me out of the water, but that's the video I submitted, so we'll have to see what's going on. Fred, I appreciate it, buddy. So let's talk about your favorite wintertime baits. Let's drop them in the comments below. What's your go-to winter bait? Again, I feel like I fish too slow. Black and blue jig is for me. Right now, knowing what I know from last week, crankbait is definitely going to be in my hand a lot more. I know, Mark Hickey, that just kills your soul out there, man, but I'm going to be throwing a crankbait a lot more in the wintertime. I'm going to be, of course, the lipless crankbait and a jerk bait is going to be definitely in my arsenal for the winter. The issue is I just don't fish enough in the wintertime. Maybe I'm a pansy. Maybe I am just a pansy. I don't know. I need to get out and do some fishing in the wintertime. But Aaron Strickland, the old blade bait. That's a dandy. By the way, Aaron, don't buy them. I have the molds, man. We can buy some blanks, pour them up. I don't know if you have them or not, but I have both blanks that Do It has, the bigger one and the smaller one. The only thing you have to buy is some blades and some hooks, and you'd be in some split rings. But I like the blade bait a lot, bunch actually. I don't think I know how to throw it. I really don't. Chatterbait, Andrew, I can pick that up. I feel like that has a lot of the same deal as like a lipless crankbait. Have a lot of stuff. And again, the other day, I think the reason we caught some of those fish off those banks on that crankbait is because that Frittside 5 has a really loud, almost like a one knocker rattle in it. And I think that stirred them up a little bit more, maybe ticked them off. I don't know, but they did bite it. The fish we caught were small, so they weren't inhaling it. It wasn't like we caught a 6-pounder and it was in its gullet. It wasn't anything like that. But they were eating it, so we'll take that. Are you kidding me? So let me tell you a story. And I was telling Brandon Buckner about it the other day. And so Kyle, my best friend Kyle Malone, most of you guys see him on my channel or know him personally. His uncle, Mike Drummond, who just recently passed away there not too long ago, this past year. Huge fisherman, huge in the fishing world, fished the the opens. I think it was the opens for a while. Fished. I think it used to be called the Red Man circuit, but he fished around and had a great time doing it. And he was a hammer. He caught a lot of fish. Was very well respected. He told me and Kyle he caught some fish in March on a buzzbait at Yatesville. I'm not saying it didn't happen, but it just struck me weird, man. Maybe that's why they call it fishing, not catching, I guess. What's up, Jared? A whirly bee. So there's a lot of baits on the planet, and I don't know that I've ever heard of that ever in my life. Definitely gonna have to check that one out. Strick, we need to get out the dam, catch some sauger if they're not done running. I'd love to go out. Alabama rig, I could deal with that. Something that, so I was, again, by the way, guys, if you guys are joining in to see Kevin Baxter, he was working on his wife's car and apparently didn't get it fixed and he has to go in at work here a little bit later. So he's just not going to be able to join us. We're about over for this episode, but it's all right. We'll get him on again eventually. But the reason I wanted to get him on here is I know he's huge in the 6th Sense brand. And I throw some of their crankbaits and a few other things, but I was really, really interested in the Divine swim bait. I wanted to see what he thought about it because I think it would be amazing on an Alabama rig. Right now I'm throwing my Alabama rigs with Jackal rhythm waves, and I feel like the Jackal rhythm waves is too chunky. I think it needs to be a lot skinnier, a lot more narrow. I think the rhythm wave causes too much drag in the water. Which I guess is good. I'm fishing this thing slower. I do throw it on a 300 series Corrado in a really slow gear ratio. It's like 4.6 to 1 or something. But so I'm really cranking this thing anyway. But I just feel like there's so much drag on there that I feel like those smaller Divine swim baits would be really good. So I'm going to ask him about that eventually. Hey Jake, what's up, buddy? Still shad, man. I'm digging. I've never thrown a still shad. I've thrown, the silver buddies and blade baits that I pour, but I like the way the still shad looks. Again, as I was saying a minute ago, when Strickland put it on there, I think I fish them too fast. I feel like that a lot of times I'm yo-yoing them and I catch fish like that, but I feel like that I'm ripping it too fast. I need to slow down and try to figure out how to fish a little bit better. One knocker and a swim bait. I'm with you again. So this year I just started breaking into the swim bait mold or swim bait world, throwing a lot more again. I threw the Jackal rhythm wave. I've thrown the Kitex are huge. I love those things. They're amazing. Between those two, I caught a lot of fish, especially at Lake St. Clair. But let's think about it, guys. Lake St. Clair is more like catching than fishing. If you get on them, I think you could throw somebody's used earplug out there and catch them. They're going to eat it. But I do. I've had a great time this year learning to fish a swim bait. I will say that I threw big swim baits, and just from talking to people like Ronnie Moore that was on the show the other day and watching like Zaldane throw these big things, is I'm using it more as an open water bait, and that is a no-no. It seems to me like people are catching these things around timber and docks and things and throwing these big baits around timber and stuff, or structure, not just timber, makes more sense. So just chunking and winding it in open water, I'm going to try to stay away from that. I'm sure they can catch them, but it just seems like you're upping your ante to try to catch those fish. What's up, Aaron? Hey, buddy. Mega Bass 110 Plus. I like it a lot. I threw the 110 or the Mega Bass Junior or 110. I think it's 110 Junior the other day. I like it a lot. Again, if I'm throwing a jerk bait, it's normally a Jackal rearrange 110. I love those. I do throw the 130, depending on where I'm at. The 130 is a giant bait, seems like, especially for the fish I catch. Andrew, do you have a video on how to set up and fish your Alabama rig? I do not, man. If I made a video showing you how to set up an Alabama rig, I would be shooting from the hip. So maybe that's a good topic. Maybe I can get somebody on here live like Kevin. I'm sure Kevin will be great. Jared Caesar, somebody on here that would set up this bait and show us how to throw it. Just from my limited knowledge it seems like people like to throw most of the same bait and have one odd one, usually the bottom one or the back one, just so it's a little different look. and a lot of times the fish will eat those. But I will tell you, one of the things that I would tell you for sure that I know that you definitely need to make sure that you're aware of is that not all states allow you to have all these hooks off of this umbrella rig. For example, the state of Ohio only lets you have 3 hooks, and the state of Kentucky you can have up to 5. So if you're fishing in Ohio with the actual, if you're throwing that Alabama rig, make sure that you have dummy hooks or dummy heads and there's no hooks on there, because you can get fined for having more hooks than you're allowed to have on the single line. 5 in Kentucky, it's 5 in Alabama, hence the Alabama rig. Some are, there's no legal limit, so you could throw 20 hooks on there if you wanted to. The Hog Farmer big umbrella rigs are amazing to me. They just look, they're just huge, and people catch monsters on them. But the only thing I can tell you about that is I need to find somebody to help me set it up too, because I'm going to Lake Fork here in April, and I do want to throw one around every now and again. It's a dangerous place to throw an Alabama rig at Lake Fork because there's trees, stumps, and everything everywhere. So hopefully I can get it back. But that's a great topic. Maybe I'll get somebody on. Berkeley Stunner versus a 6 cents Provoke. I can tell you that I fished the Stunner recently. I've never fished the 6 cents Provoke. Again, when we get Kevin on, again, if you guys are just not joining us, and you're here to see Kevin Baxter, he had to work on his wife's car, and had some stuff going on before work, and is just not be able to make it today. We'll get him back on maybe next week, and he will definitely be able. He will be the guy to ask about that 6 cents jerk bait and stuff, because he's huge into the 6 cents world, partners with him a lot, and has a lot to do with it. The Berkeley Stunner versus any other crank or jerk bait that I've thrown, I do like it. I think it's a great bait. I feel like that the collar pattern that they use, a lot of different collar patterns that you can get are highly predictable, and they're going to be really nice. They're going to be fish catching machines. It goes without saying that you got the guy that's, won 2 back-to-back Bassmaster Classic champion in Hank Cherry, and literally threw a stunner for hours upon hours on the last Bassmaster Classic, knowing that he was going to get bit. And you don't have somebody like that and that huge of a stature throwing a bait for millions of dollars in the end of it if it's not going to work. Personally, I like it. I think it's going to be an amazing fish catching machine. But if I'm going to be throwing a jerk bait, I prefer a Jackal Re-Range 110. I just like the weight, the transfer system. I feel like you can cast it a lot farther. But I think you're comparing apples to apples at that point, because I feel like that they're all created equally in that price point. Do like the Stunner. Cannot say anything about the 6 cents Provoke. Sure, it's a great bait, but I've never fished it. Andrew, no problem, man. Thanks for joining in. We are at that magical 1 hour mark, guys. I appreciate you guys joining in this episode of On Another Line Live. If you guys have not subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd appreciate it if you would. I have a huge goal for the 2022 fishing season, and let's just see how far away we are as of today. And we're going to check out my analytics here on my channel before I hop off here. I haven't checked it out in a few days. But what this is analytics of my channel showing how many people have shown interest in my videos, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. Right now, I am setting at 3,191 subscribers. So I am 909 away from that 4,000, or 809 away. Sorry, 809 away from that 400 subscriber mark, 4,000 subscriber mark. Definitely appreciate if you guys could spread the word, try to get some people out there. I'm averaging about 51 subs a month, which I'm not mad at it. I appreciate every subscriber I get. I'm trying to provide everything that I'm trying to transition everything from Facebook strictly to YouTube, just for the simple fact is there's a lot more stuff I can do on YouTube, and the quality on YouTube is way better. Right now I'm using a platform called StreamYard, and I'm streaming both to Facebook and YouTube. If I just stream to Facebook or just stream to YouTube, I could stream in 4K, which would be a way better experience for you guys out there. You can watch it on your TVs at your house, and it will be like you and I having a conversation in your house. StreamYard degrades the actual amount of the compression of it, so it does get it a little bit down. I did reach out. For example, hey Adam, I'm glad you're here, man. You just reminded me. Adam has reached out to a few people as well as myself, trying to get some people in the fishing community to be on the show. A couple weeks ago, it's been about a month ago now, we had Ronnie Moore from Bassmaster on here, and I absolutely, without a shadow of a doubt, was my favorite show to do ever. I've had some really hammers on this show. I've had some really good local people, but Ronnie Moore was an amazing guy to talk to, and I want to try to get some more of those people on my show. I've messaged every pro that I possibly follow on Facebook. I have some other feelers going out. I know they're busy. They're going to start fishing, but I'm going to try to bring those guys in here so you guys can have the opportunity to ask them questions. But if not, you're going to see my ugly mug every Tuesday until it starts getting warm to fish. You're going to see content coming very soon for me as far as cleaning my reels, gearing them up for this spring coming up. And again, in April, I'm headed out to Lake Fork in Giannis, Texas, to try to lean on an old big, see what happens. But with that being said, guys, if you guys haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel, I'd appreciate it. I'm looking at that 4,000 subscriber mark, which is, I always set my subscriber goal way too high, and I've never hit it yet. Not once. I would love to hit it for this year. Going to be about 900 subscribers here, 809 subscribers between now and December 31st, 2022. I'm hoping to hit that way before that. You're going to see a lot more content, a lot more often, and a lot more quality content. So that's what I'm going for. Guys, I appreciate you guys sticking around for this episode of On Another Line. And hey, Alex, what's up, buddy? Idaho. Man, I bet it's chilly out there. Guys, I appreciate you guys sticking around for this episode of On Another Line Live. If you can, get out there and share my content. I would have very much appreciate it. Help me get out there. And hopefully, be able to hit that 4,000 sub goal, maybe surpass that. Maybe we hit 5,000. Who knows? With your help, anything's possible. Guys, if you can, get out there and lean on them. We'll see you next time on Another Line Live.